want you to understand that the roots of this transaction, as all utility acquisitions, lie in what the state has done historically. And what the state has done historically is to grant to Dominion and its predecessors a public monopoly franchise to provide an essential service that people cannot do without. And the transaction that you will always see in a merger transaction is not merely a merger, it is a sale of control. It's a sale of control of that public monopoly franchise for private gain. And it is a sale of control that is undisciplined by the competitive market. Let me explain exactly what I'm talking about because it is the accurate way to look at the transaction. In any M&A transaction, what are the transacting parties doing? They're buying and selling a market position. Understanding this point and understanding the difference between competitive markets and monopoly markets is central to understanding these transactions. So in a market that is effectively competitive, a seller's market position comes from what? It comes from the presence or absence of merit, competitive merit. But in a monopoly market, which a utility controls, a monopoly granted by the state, it's not a competitive market. The utility owes its market position not to its merits. It comes from state government. So unlike a state senator or a state delegate who has to compete for his or her slot every few years, a utility doesn't regularly compete for the monopoly role. It just gets it. And it has it year after year after year. And so what it is doing in this transaction is it is selling control of that monopoly role to an outsider. What it is doing is monetizing its government protected market position. Now, a quick departure from my text. You've heard about the two headquarters. You've heard about the promises, but understand that what is being transferred is control. All decisions ultimately are controlled by the owners, and the owner will be Nextera. That is the central change that's happening here. So when somebody tells you that, quote, they will always be here, close quote, that's not an enforceable statement. That statement depends on decisions made from Florida. Now, if you want, you can ask the SEC in a proceeding, or you can legislate that the board of directors of Dominion will have certain powers that cannot be overridden by the board of directors of Nextera. But I would bet you that that term is not in the merger agreement. And unless it is, you are approving, if you approve any merger transaction, I'm not being specific about this one, you are approving a transfer of control. That's control over budgets, that's control over rate timing, that's control over the hiring and firing of employees, that's control over who the next CEO will be, that's control over who will be the board of directors. Those are the matters that are transferring in this transaction from seller, which is Dominion, to buyer, which is Nextera. I want to make sure that that is clear. And so